Hello out there, and in front of you today is the CRKT Hi Jinx, and this is a pretty cool knife, guys, and one that I'm definitely going to talk about when it comes to the design and the features of it and my overall impression for sure. I'm going to talk about these specs, but this is not going to be a full review today. This video is going to have a little bit more to it and is going to go in a few different directions than what I normally do. All right, because once I'm done talking about the specs, I'm sort of going to get into the background of this knife, the future of this design, and some possible variations that are or should be in the works, and also talk about some marketing opportunities and just opinions when it comes to the way that CRKT gives us information and markets their knives. And I've made a video sort of similar to that aspect of it before, where I wrote a letter to CRKT regarding the hootenanny. I'll link to that down below if you're interested in that. It is a little bit on the more humorous side, so it's a fun, quick little watch. And it sort of ties into a few of the things we're going to talk about here. All right, but before we get into all that, let's talk about the specs, all right? And what I will do, guys, is I will annotate where the video sort of starts to take a turn so that you can either stop watching there if that's your prerogative, or you can skip to that point if you're interested in hearing that other stuff. All right, so here we go. Talking about the knife, and we are going to save the blade for last. What we do have is a Ken Onion design model that is based off of his Scallywag Custom. All right, and the Scallywag was eventually turned into the original Hi Jinx, which was produced by Lion Steel for CRKT in a limited run of, I think, 500, either 4 or 500. And that knife won a ton of awards. It had a fluted titanium frame and Schleipner steel. It was just a really cool high-end knife that ran in like the $400 range. So I wasn't able to get my hands on it for that reason, and I sure did chase it. I chased it for a while, trying to find a used one that was in decent condition that I could get for like a couple $100. And at that point, I mean, I didn't even have a couple $100, but I really wanted to make it happen because I was really in love with the design, and I just never could. Never got my hands on one, never even held one. So the fact that CRKT had the insight to take a design that was in their library and update it to something a little more budget friendly, definitely appreciate it. I really like that aspect of what they did here. It's very cool. Very cool to be able to have this in my hands. All right, and getting into the specs, let's just start with the weight since the scale is right here. It's going to come in at 4.88, 4.89 ounces. So a little bit heavy, but it does have a very broad blade, as you can see here. And it does have liners running the length of the scales. And you can see the inset liner lock right here. Glass-filled nylon scales. They're comfortable, not particularly grippy though. I mean, they're just sort of there. Not too impressed with them. A little bit of sharpness on the bottom edges, which sort of happens when they get machined. Sometimes I've seen it in a number of models. So that sort of is what it is, and can't really do anything about that at this point. But as we get to talking about future incarnations of this knife, hopefully we will see some other handle materials. All right, the pocket clip is 2-position. It is tip up only. Really nice deep carry. Carries extremely well. I like that a lot. We also have a decorative pivot right here. A little bit of jimping on top of the glass-filled nylon scales, and it is good and grippy. The knife sits in the hand extremely well. And while you don't have a number of grip configurations, I mean, you are pretty much set on this main configuration here. Let me put it in my right hand for you to see that. I mean, there are a couple things obviously you can do to choke up if you need to, but this is extremely comfortable. Good and comfortable in the hand, and this jimping actually really helps. So I like that a whole lot. All right, not quite open frame because of this back spacer. And then looking at the lockup, it's very good. No side to side, no up and down. Good blade centering. Maybe we can get that focused. All right, there we go. And then the IKBS. Wonderful. Wonderful IKBS. And I said about a week ago in my review of the Remedy that the Remedy was even better than the Hi Jinx. And now that you see the Hi Jinx and we're talking about the Hi Jinx, I hope you understand how good the Remedy was, because the Hi Jinx is fantastic. Really excellent manual flipper action here. No thumb studs, but no need for them because, like I said, that flipper is just very, very good. All right, so overall, the basic construction from the back to the front, that gets everything except for the blade, which is what we're going to talk about now and is going to transition us into the next part of the video. All right, so the blade is the most attractive thing about this knife, without a doubt. It's the thing that drew me to the original designs. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous looking profile. Stout, broad, flat ground, almost reminiscent of a kitchen knife here. You know, if you were to extend this a few more inches, you would have almost the shape of a chef's knife, which I really like. Putting that into a folder, pretty darn smart. Like it a lot. But now let's get into the steel. The steel is called 1.4116, and it's one that I know almost nothing about. I did a little bit of research on the Knife Steel app that I have. I would recommend downloading that if you can hunt that down. It gives you a little bit of background on some steels that are not too common in the marketplace. So yeah, you're ever curious about anything, check out that app. But I didn't really find much else when it came to the steel, 1.4116. And it's a steel that I know CRKT has used other steels that are just numbered like that, but I'm not sure if I've ever seen them use this. And the information that I got was just that this is used in German cutlery, a lot of kitchen knives, doesn't hold its edge very well, and is just, you know, sort of a budget type of steel. And I don't know, guys. I don't know what to say about it. I haven't used it enough to really do a review of the steel itself. You know, this knife cuts pretty well, but I don't know how well it will retain its edge. And I don't have a problem with this steel being on this knife, don't get me wrong, but this is where we're transitioning into some of the opportunities that CRKT has. Now, if I'm another knife company, like Spyderco or Kershaw or ZT, or almost anyone, anytime I'm rolling out a new steel that is not really commonly known in the marketplace and not commonly used in the kinds of knives that most, I'd say, streamlined, like, you know, knife enthusiasts are aware of, you know, I would advertise that. I would talk about it. You know, I would say, hey, you want to know what? You have a $48 budget knife here, which is what this comes in at, $48. So it's not an inexpensive knife by any means, you know, but hey, you've got a $48 knife here, but here's this new steel that we're using for one of the first times. It's called 1.4116, and it's great for this reason and this reason and this reason. You know, I would like to see something like that. You know, even if it's just in the packaging, just a little pamphlet or just a little sheet, the way that Spyderco does it, or even something on the website. Hey, information 1.4116, or like get it out there. That information might be available. You know, it might be somewhere that I'm just not seeing, and that's great. But what I think is, if you're marketing a knife and you're getting that out there, I mean, it should be something that they should be talking about all the time. You know, if they're proud of the material that is in their product, they should be talking about that all the time. Any SHOT Show video, they should be saying, hey, this is the steel. This is why we're using it. It's great. You know, that doesn't seem to be the case here. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing a lot of stuff when it comes to, when it comes to the way that they market. But, you know, I try to stay involved with a number of things, and I'm in a number of different areas watching websites and things, and I just don't see that kind of stuff pop up when it comes to CRKT. You know, if you follow Spyderco at all, you know everything about the steels that they're putting out because they bombard you with that information. They want you to know about it. So the fact that CRKT doesn't do something like that for a knife like this Hi Jinx, it just makes me a little skeptical. And again, I have no problem being wrong. So if I'm incorrect here and I'm just missing all this information, please let me know and I will, you know, retract the video or give an apology or whatever it takes, you know, but I just don't see this stuff. And I wish I did, because it would make me feel a whole lot more comfortable about spending, you know, $48 on this knife if I knew the quality of all the ingredients and if I had, you know, a really strong representation of the steel from the team that produced it. Just my take there. All right, and now let's touch on a little bit of other misinformation with this, because one of the main things when I was thinking about doing a review of this knife, one of the main things was I was going to say, don't stop here, guys. Do not stop. All right, glass-filled nylon, whatever. Not too thrilled about that. Let's keep going. Let's get a stainless steel frame lock version. Let's get an aluminum version. Let's get every version that we can because we know that this design is a winner. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And that's what sort of ties into to that other video that I made in the past. Well, interestingly enough, on the Blade HQ description that I was looking at, the Blade HQ description talks about a knife that is not in front of me. And I don't know if that's something that is already in the works or if it's just a major misprint. But the Blade HQ description says the Hi Jinx is this popular design has been upgraded with G10 handles and a stainless steel frame lock. Okay, that's not what I see here. And so I'm not sure if that's just a complete misprint, like I said, or if we're going to get a stainless steel frame lock in G10 version, which would be awesome. That would be awesome. And that would show a whole lot when it comes to, what I think would be a smart move for CRKT with some of their brilliant, brilliant designs that they have in their library. Keep going with it. Hopefully that's the case, and that's just not a misprint on the website. Another interesting thing when it comes to that, though, is that the box says Hi Jinx right here and has the correct model number, but then on the CRKT website and also Blade HQ, it's called the Hi Jinx Z. So again, not sure about the misinformation out there, don't know. Would love to see some upgrades when it comes to this knife, though. When it comes to most budget knives, I think what we see so often are excellent, excellent designs that could be, that have a lot of potential that could be further explored. And it just doesn't happen so often. And I'm thrilled that CRKT has taken the first steps when it comes to making this knife based off of the really high-end version, but I want them to go a step further. Most definitely. Would love to see that. So, yeah, so that's really my take when it comes to the marketing aspect of it, and then also, the future of this model. Hopefully we see a lot more because this in itself is a pretty good knife, provided that the steel stands up, and I don't know quite yet. But this is a pretty good knife and an excellent design, and I would love to just see, colors and different, just so many different varieties to make it available for all of us, because that's sort of what it's all about, giving the consumer what they want and giving us a variety of options. And when you have a winning design like this, it only makes sense to do that. So, yeah, any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, guys, let me know about them. I would love to hear from you. There are a couple times in a couple videos where people get a little bit heated and disagree with me, and that's fine. That's what I want to hear. That's the kind of conversation I want to start. So, as long as we can be civil and have a good discussion about it, I would love to have a talk with you, even if we don't see eye to eye on things. So let me know down below your thoughts, and I will talk with you soon. I appreciate your time. Take care.